Hi, Liz.
Good morning, Rain.
How are you?
Very well, very well. How are
Yeah.
you?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there. It's crunch time with this lovely thesis project that I've got going, and
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
so grateful that you could join.
Me too. And I find it really remarkable that you could continue and have deadlines and do all the things you're doing underneath this weight of tyranny and what you call pandemic.
It's really not easy.
Ye-
I
Right.
mean, in many ways, I'm going to say, in many ways, I'm very glad to have had this year, this
Hmm.
pandemic year, be devoted to finalizing my MFA, you know,
Yeah. Hmm.
um, because well, for one thing, I've had none of that FOMO, no fear of missing out.
Isn't that something?
All those people having fun, going to shows, all this other shit, and I'm like, no, nobody's doing any of it, so I don't
Right.
have any of that anxiety,
Hmm.
that I think would be a part of it, and and it's also transformed the piece itself. It's made it difficult.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, originally, this whole show that I'm doing was supposed to be a live in person production, like I'm used to.
Yes.
You know, we'd be on
Yes.
the same stage, and
Looking at each other,
mhm,
two stools.
yeah, you know, like I've
Yeah.
done in the past, like I want to
Mhm.
do, and you know, here we are.
Yeah. Right.
How has your pandemic been? What have you been up to this
How
last
was my
year or so?
pandemic? Well, similar in the introversion extroversion way. Like the extroverted performer part of me has always fought with the awkward, the socially awkward kind of art painter
Mhm.
who just needed to be alone for days at a time. So those two had always been in conflict. And now, well, it's starting to change, but now um, I don't have that fight. I've just been able to turn in if I could get the fascist and the pandemic um, deaths out of my mind, or incorporate them, like fold them into what I'm doing, and but be internal with it rather than expressing how I feel about it. Or it's been, in a little ways, for an introvert, a relief.
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know
yeah. I feel that. I mean, I don't think that I have as much of a internal tension as you do. I mean, having known
Mhm.
you for a while, I know your tendencies in both
Mhm.
ways. Um, but but it has been a real burden for my extrovert side,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. And needing to know who you are by reflecting in other people's eyes.
Mhm.
How do you keep knowing who you are if people aren't showing you who you are?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, so, I mean, that's where your internalized mother comes.
Oh, you froze just a little bit. That's where my internalized.
Yeah, that's where my internalized mother
Mhm.
came in, who was continuing to be either very mean to me or usually nice to me, um, according to the day and my thoughts, because that internal mother is pretty judgmental.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you think that that's been really present on your mind? I'm asking because my project very much is exploring my maternal relationship,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, um, and what I keep carrying with me from.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think there is a certain period in our lives where we really we do bring our mother inside. We become our mothers to other people. We learn how to nurture our friends as well as nurture ourselves and be kind to ourselves. And be the mother that we really hope that we could have had, or help our mothers grow up psychically within us. So I think, well, and I've been reading again, Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Women Who Run with the Wolves, and she always gets around to the mother self.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in the stage of mothering right now.
Hmm. I love that book. I had like briefly revisited it a couple of years ago and was just like, wow, this book is still so present.
I know. Yeah, yeah. And I met and was in a residency with Natalie Goldberg, who wrote Writing Down the Bones.
Right, right.
And she had close contact with Dr. Pinkola.
Hmm.
And so I felt like I was nearly there when I was in her presence.
Yeah.
Uh, that was kind of amazing.
Yeah, that sounds really, really awesome. Um, what residency was that?
It was in Ucross in Wyoming.
Oh, right. I remember when you went on that.
Yeah, it was a giant ranch with no cows, but a million eyes at night watching you as you ride your bicycle from little hut to hut.
Hmm.
And
Oh, oh,
and you're just hoping they're deer. You're saying, yes, those are just deer. And they say usually cougar don't really come down into this area. It's the usual
yeah,
part that
yeah, yeah. It can happen.
it could, but probably they're going to go after the deer and not you on a bicycle at
Yeah.
midnight.
Right, 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 right. Deer's probably got a little more like flavor.
Yeah, I think that they're used to.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. You always, I mean, you came from kind of a rural place, and
Yeah.
like I've always loved kind of your tensions between the rural and the urban.
Mhm.
You know, because obviously you've been in Baltimore for a couple of years,
Couple.
a minute or two. So there's clearly something about like the city that really, draws you here and keeps you here and keeps you going. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
hard to be an artist in other settings, you know, and making,
Right.
and making a living. But
Yeah.
I'm really always interested in that because you grew up in Alabama.
Yeah.
And you're spending a lot of time down there too, right?
Yeah. I have a little boathouse that I turned into a cabin, um, which is like it's tiny, but it's mostly windows at this point. And I'm sort of like in a tree house, and I get to watch what the beaver does, and I get to watch what the turtles do, and um, watch the fights between the geese, um, and then I come back to Baltimore, and it's very much the same. The arguments between the neighbors, and the watching the kids running up and down the sidewalk. It's really kind of all the same,
Mhm.
watching nature and human nature. Um, but what a rural place gives you, or what my particular upbringing gave me, was um, one, having two parents who were repressed artists.
Mm.
And that already laid the groundwork. Like I kind of had my life cut out for me right then, of doing what it is that my parents couldn't or wouldn't do.
Mhm.
Um, so that set the stage for everything. And then at a very early age, I saw evangelists. I went to tent revivals, and that set the stage eventually for performance art.
Mhm.
I thought that I was going to be an evangelist. I really thought that standing on a stump screaming into the woods, that this is my calling.
Mhm.
I can bring squirrels by the millions to Jesus. Um, and they did. They came.
Yeah,
Um,
I believe it.
yeah. So yeah, that was certainly the beginnings, that now I can see
Mm.
every step of the way that it was all plotted in a seed in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Was it like the content that you couldn't really get behind in terms of evangelizing to the squirrels? Did you have like a little like break there?
Yeah, yeah. The break became when I saw that evangelists were really kind of like degrading and bullying their congregants. Um, but what I loved about them was how they were able to get a frenzy going,
Mhm.
um, and how children were allowed to be full of spirit. And I could act as full of spirit, and those children would, the adults of the audience would often come somewhere to my family and say, you know, your daughter has the beginning of a real person of Jesus, and you should help her. And but really, I was just enthralled with the people being close together and the fervor and the what performance artists are able to do,
Mhm.
which
Yeah,
is bring people together in one thought or
yeah,
many thoughts.
yeah. Or try to at least.
Or try to. Right, that's the effort. That's the goal.
Yeah. What do you think your parents would have been if they had been able to realize themselves as artists? What kind of artists would they have been?
Yeah, my mother would have been a nightclub singer.
Hmm.
She really loved singing in that croony kind of way. She loved and could sing just about like Doris Day.
Hmm.
And then I tried to imitate her, imitating Doris Day.
Uh-huh.
Um, and she could also do a few things that Ella Fitzgerald did. You know, she was a little bit into the scat, a little bit into that. Uh, while she was hanging sheets on the line, I would hear her kind of imitating the birds, or um, so she would have been a nightclub singer, and my father would have been a solitary painter and a woodworker. He
Mhm.
would have been a sculptor and a painter.
Yeah.
Um, but they
You
had a motel instead.
brought these things together in your own practice. I think it's
I
so
did.
interesting, because you are such a, free form performer. If I may be so bold, like you're not as restricted by genre and these sort like you're able to kind of just play loose. Like here's a
Mhm.
structure and I'm going
Mhm.
to expand on it. It's not just
Right.
that I'm going to try to be a country musician or a new wave musician or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, I didn't have a lot of those skills. I didn't have the, I was limited. I couldn't be a jack of all trades because I only had a few skills and I only have a certain kind of voice. So I've learned to use it to its utmost ability, but figure out all along the way what I can't do by so many failures. But such as that's the way you go.
Mhm. And painting's always been a part of that as well. Like you've always painted, or maybe you've not always painted. It seemed to me like you've always painted
I have.
costumes for your bands, and
Mm-hmm.
there's always been a visual component to it, and it's always had this like rooting in the natural world. Again, from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. The very first performance art, I just made these big sets out of huge pieces of refrigerator cartons and made them folding so that they made this accordion around us, painting images on them, and then you could fold it up, stick it on top of the car, and take it anywhere. Um, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so that was sort of the beginning of Lambsy Ivy, how we made a full environment.
Hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Was it? Did you take a while to come around to painting in these like naturalistic ways? Did you try other modes of painting?
Yeah, I tried a lot of ways. At first, it was landscape, because that's what everyone liked. And then when I discovered like Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell, and it became so that I was searching for archetypes. And so I would try painting while in an acid induced state to try to pull up those archetypes. And it felt great, but what was on my canvas was like splats and teeth, and nobody could really read it. So that didn't work exactly. And I still couldn't find a way to incorporate the landscapes into the archetypes. So that was a struggle that has taken all my life. And I may be finding a place in between now. I think in these last few years where I've been able to work on like crankies, like the scrolling panoramas with stories, and I can stand beside it and sing a song. I'm sort of able to bring the landscapes into the archetypes by using these puppets also that are, to me, they're archetypes that can interact with each other while I sing a song or tell a story. So those are ways that I'm sort of able to.
Yeah, yeah. That's really amazing. I think Baltimore's got this interesting cranky culture that
Doesn't
I
it?
don't know if it exists other places.
Mm-mm.
I'm not looking heavily for it elsewhere because Baltimore doesn't seems to do it so well.
Yeah.
And you've been doing that. You've been doing that for a little while as well, like just linking with that.
Yeah.
And very
About
fun.
7 or 8 years ago now, Anna RG, who's an amazing banjo player and artist in general, musicologist, asked me to create one for the Cranky Festival at the Creative Alliance. And that was my first story song that I illustrated. And it really did feel like a scrolling illustration, because what I was doing is illustrating I was drawing the characters that were in the story of Piggly Wiggly, which was a little story about having gone to town with my mother to the grocery store, and she eats all the cream horns while she sends me off with a bouquet to put on my dead grandfather's grave. And I get back and she's eating all the cream horns and she's just looking like a taxidermied bear, just satiated for that moment. And all the cream horns were gone.
It happens.
Yeah, right. So I do that on occasion, but it's with fried chicken. So it's different.
Yeah, that's and so like with crankies, you've just got you've got a backlit scrim and these images kind of scrolling across. Is it hard, having never done one before, is it hard to communicate about like the speed with which the cranker has to work with you as the performer?
It's really hard. It's hard, and it just takes some practice. And it also, I found it not to be the exact thing that I needed, because even with the cranky, there's a tension between the person standing beside and singing, and being a performer, you want that a focus on you. Yet here's your scroll of images you've worked so hard to create, and they're going by also.
Mm-hmm.
So it turned out crankies were just a step. They aren't the way, they are a way towards blending all my talents, all my few abilities, putting them together.
You exercise so well, though. I mean, I mean, you're one of the very first performers I really fell in love with in Baltimore. On the stage of the Charm City Kitty Club, the very first edition of that in 2002 where I was like, I've come to the right place. This like really
Yeah.
convinced me that I had not made a mistake in just moving my entire life across country and moving to Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
This is what I came here to see, and this is giving me hope that like maybe I can actually do an art thing here and not be laughed out of the room, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And actually, you and Lucky and Catherine Chet were the main people in the audience for me. I was performing to you, even though I'd never met you. I saw you in the audience and I was like, that person, I'm going to know that person. And soon after, not so long after, I tried, we got together at City Cafe and I was like, this woman has on blue mascara. I adore that.
Oh yeah, my blue mascara phase. That
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that. But yes, that happened for a while.
Mhm, mhm.
That was just a magical night, you know. I mean, that's the first night that I saw Kristen,
Uh-huh. Wow.
right? And I remember I didn't really meet her that night, but she was, you know, working at Creative Alliance and like
Yeah.
running things, and there was a crisis. She was supposed to show a movie and something happened, and so they were like, well, we're not going to show that, we're just going to do it at the next one. And so she was kind of like, you know, kind of frustrated and zooming across like you do when
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like
yeah.
large and just trying to make it go, you know.
Right,
And
right.
I mean, like, and I just have like this very fixed memory of like what she was wearing, like, you know. And I mean, like, it wouldn't be for like many months until we would really communicate again, you know. And now we're married, so you know, it's a beautiful thing. But like, I love that that night was kind of full of those like magnetic moments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's what happens, I think, when you put powerful people together in a room in a situation that is so full of adrenaline,
Mhm.
um, such as performance. And there's people who move it behind the scenes, and then there's people who move it on the scene. And yeah, that just to have been the way I got to that performance was Chet calling me and saying, we're starting this little thing. And there's these women, and she named some of the most powerful women that I knew. And I was like, yes, that's all you have to, you know. I'd been out of performing for a while because, and trying hard to do some children's performances, and it, it wasn't going well.
Mhm.
And I was feeling very isolated from the community. I had um, a daughter who was, I guess she was 6 or 7, and I was so wrapped up in the home, family problems in Alabama, you know, and it was just such a great opening for another part of life to begin.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely right, the right thing at the right time. And the
Absolutely.
most amazing part to me is this thing that started then, the Charm City Kitty Club, is still going.
Isn't it incredible?
It's still going almost
Mhm.
20 years later. I mean, I said this 10 years ago, like, show me another like lesbian based organization without an actual leadership, right? An actual functional arts collective coming from the lesbian community
Yeah.
that is still going
Right.
and
Where
thriving.
people and thriving and people don't get paid really. I mean, the people, the organizers
Right,
aren't
right,
making
right.
money, um, but they're giving it all to the performers who come in.
Hmm. It's magic.
Yeah.
It's really magic. And I don't understand it. I'm so proud of all of us that we're able to contribute to it, and just like it's one of those perpetual motion machines almost. We did it. It's such a good thing. But I think another thing that I wanted to talk about is one of the things that really attracted me to Baltimore back then is this sense that I had, like this, like, um, this combination of like history and possibility, in like this like creative kind of, it just seemed like a very fertile place to me. And I suspected it might be a good place for like collaboration and these sorts of things. And it's really turned out to be what, as I suspected, like this is a place where collaboration is still, even still championed. It's not quite like it was in the mid 2000s, I think, but like it's, it still feels really generative here. And so many artists here are just really willing to like talk and converse and like try things, experiment.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
like you've definitely been part of like making it like that. But I'm wondering if you've felt like that, for the time that you've been here, if you've seen it, that kind of energy shift.
Mhm. Well, I think that's a personal thing, really, for everyone. It shifts in different ways, but um, I do feel like now is even a better time for collaboration for me than it's ever been, because I know myself and my abilities more. And you're able to collaborate at your best self if you do know what you have to offer. Um, and so now I know what I can't offer. I know what I can offer. Um, and it keeps me from a lot of dead ends of
Mhm.
trying to start with something, um, and it just being a complete mistake. And so it starts to feel like that felt like a waste of time, and that felt like it might have damaged some friendships and because it failed. And trying to not have those things even start. um, so I learned from a few difficult times of how to better collaborate, and not necessarily who to collaborate with, but what talents they have,
Mhm.
um, that I want to put my talents with. Um, so, I think so much has to do with being able to see your own self better
Yeah.
in the time that you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. And like, I think knowing the ways that you work, what your goals are. I mean, you can
Mhm.
work those out obviously as you're going through a project. Um, but yeah, so much it is, I think, is about communication and also kind of checking your own assumptions about the way the
Mhm.
communication is going. I think is another big part of it. I mean, I think this has been especially uh, the case for me in bands where it's like, okay, so we're going along for a while, but then suddenly it's like, oh, we've got a really different perspective. Like the different members have a very different perspective on what we want about this and like why we're doing this. And,
Mhm. Mhm.
you kind of have to figure those things out to be able to move forward creatively.
Right. And a trick that I learned was calling things a project instead of letting them. I mean, sometimes just for the heck of it and for the fun of it, you might call something a band,
Hmm.
but that's if everyone is taking it lightly. Um, because I have been in situations where a band meant you were stuck forever.
Hmm.
Um, and you couldn't get out of it without a divorce. And and if people aren't willing to see it as that and see it as a split that needed to happen, um, I don't know, things can get really hairy.
Yeah.
So calling things projects is a really nice way to get around that.
Yeah, that
Or
is,
studies.
that's a smart strategy. That's a smart strategy. Well, what projects are you working on these days?
Well, at this very moment, Lovey Hatem, Greg Hatem, and I are I am pulling songs from my deep past, and and giving them over. I sing. He gives me this little recorder. I sing the songs into it from 25 years ago, and he's now taking them and rearranging them, and doing all the wonderful things he does to them. Plus, he made a data bank using my voice. Every note he record. So he gave me the recorder. I get the banjo. He told me what to do, and I did it, which I don't usually do. But when Lovey tells me to do something, I'll do it. He said, pluck a note, let the vibration die out, and then sing that note. Go up the head and repeat, and then do the same with the bow. And then separately, I make all these kind of ulizations, kind of things on different notes. And so he now has that in a data bank that he can play. And he accompanies me with my voice done in all kinds of crazy ways. And it's kind of thrilling to me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have moments where you're like, wait, I'm not singing, but I'm singing?
Yeah, I'm singing in a way I wouldn't have thought to sing.
Uh-huh.
Because it's through Lovey's mind.
Wow.
I know. It's really thrilling. And so I take my puppets, and I get down below the screen. I hold the puppets up. They interact with each other while I'm singing, though I'm not singing, but I'm listening. And so I'm making these little, I guess they're little puppet shows. They're 3-minute kind of deals, where I'm trying to illuminate the meanings of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
So
exciting.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see this. Or is this something you're going to perform, or is this more of a recorded kind of a thing?
It will be able to be performed, and as a part of this piece that you and I are doing right now, I will be presenting one of these.
Oh my God, that's exciting.
Yeah, so I should have it finished and able to send in to you.
Oh, that's exciting. So we'll get to showcase a little bit of
First person who's seen it or heard it will be you and your audience.
Oh, this makes me so happy. So very happy. Ah, Liz, I'm so glad we could just hang out today. I can't wait till we can just hang out in person again.
I know. Had my first shot yesterday, so it won't be long.
Congratulations. Which one did you get?
Moderna.
Moderna.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So a couple weeks, then you'll get the next one. And,
mm-hmm.
you know, I worry, everything I hear, I'm just worried about that second one. And like,
yeah,
I don't want to be knocked out. I mean, of course I'm going to get it, but I'm like,
right.
I do not have time to
right.
be like flattened for a day.
It's going to be, it might be 2 days.
Yeah.
But if it's a planned illness, you can set yourself up. You know, get your preferred kind of medicines, mm-hmm. and your preferred movies, and you know.
Yeah. Thesis time being what it is.
Oh,
I'm
see.
Not sure. It might be I was like, okay. I have to power right through it.
Okay.
I'm not thrilled about, but you know,
mm-hmm.
it's better than the alternatives for sure. So,
right.
But I haven't been sick in a year.
I know. Isn't it wonderful? I haven't had a cold since I stopped teaching.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I right before shutdown, it just worked out this way. I can't believe that it did. I had performances and engagements like every night, every day for like a week ahead of our shutdown. There was me and Kristen did a video show. I did a stand-up comedy show. I did a huge show with Santa Labrada, my band Santa Labrada, sold out show at Metro Gallery. And then the next day we were recording all day. And like all the stuff was just like, it was like nonstop, like people, people, people. And I remember being at the Metro Gallery, this sold out show. It's like March 9th. And like
I was there.
in the back of my mind, I'm like, is this basically just a breeding ground for what's to come? And I'm like, you know what? I got to push it out of my head because I've got a show to do. And the following Wednesday, I just got like a really severe cold, laid me out. I was like on the couch for a day, but like that whole day, I was like, holy fuck, like
Mhm.
I don't, I hope not, but like, and I
Mhm.
was just like drinking fire cider, like I do. And it was like a 24-hour bug. It went away after 24 hours, but definitely like that, like fear was there. And that was the last time I was sick.
Yeah, because the last time you had human contact without a mask on,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, pretty well, pretty well.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, yeah, I really want to go back, and I also don't want to go back.
Same.
You know, that
Yeah.
tension, extrovert introvert tension.
Right, right, right. I mean, so much of what I get from living here in Baltimore is seeing live music.
Mhm.
Watching you perform in a very passionate way makes me really it always makes me long to be on stage, and that's the beauty of going out to see live music. It pulls you in as one,
Mhm.
um, to what's going on the. I mean, that's the best part of evangelism is it pulls you in together, and you're having this amazing experience, and to have that from the stage or from the audience is just irreplaceable.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it'll be good to get back to that.
Indeed. Indeed, indeed. Well, I hope we get to share a stage before too much longer.
Me too.
Good luck with your next vax.
Thank you. And I will send you the video. Um, yeah, yeah.
Cool, cool, cool. All right. Thank you so much, Liz. You're the best. I miss you.
Thank you, honey. Mwah, mwah. Bye bye. Bye bye.